Welcome to the Pantheon Plus Rewind.
Hello, friends and future friends. Welcome to episode 129 of the Pantheon Plus Rewind, our weekly podcast covering Pantheon, Rise of the Fallen, and its growing community. This week, we update you on our calendar. We fish for topics and catch something spicy. Make sure we shout out our community creators, and lastly, we end with new question from the lore you know. Stock up on snacks, it's time for a gaming session. Join me and my exploratory co-host, Theric, for this week's slightly brief Rewind. You know, I really thought about kind of like feigning exhaustion, for our recording, just like...
I don't have to feign it. I'm actually exhausted.
You're already exhausted. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm already exhausted. Yes, I'm not in a good place because we're going into a time when I need lots of energy, and I'm already feeling pretty exhausted. It was a long week, a long day, very busy day. So I don't have to feign.
Yeah. Well, you can just roll. No acting on your part. I hope you get some good sleep tonight, or several nights ago. But I'm
going to do everything I can.
Yeah.
I'm gonna drink some chamomile tea. I'm gonna listen to some nice soothing music. I'm gonna read. I'm not gonna go on my screen, my iPad right before bed. I'm gonna do everything I can to get a good night's sleep.
Very nice. Then I hope our session goes well or went well. I say this is gonna be so weird because we're going to be coming out of this session pretty much when this premieres, just as our audience is aware. So feel free to mess with us in the chat, because we're going to probably be a bit out of sorts, but hopefully in a good mood, right?
Yes. Yeah. The thing is that I think that our mood will be, we will be the determinants of our own mood at that point, because we will determine how much sleep we get, and how much we don't. So we'll see.
We will see. But you know what else puts me in a good mood?
What's that?
Our fantastic adventuring party. So we've got Ziplocks on the Dark Rogue, Sparoh on the Elf Ranger, Bounty Code on the Human Wizard, Screech on the Scar Bard, Wiki Woo on the Human Enchanter, Shuriken on the Dwarf Cleric, Horsosaurus on the Human Warrior, Fury Wrath on the Archive Summoner, Bavejo on the Gnome Wizard, Acera Avienda on the Elf Ranger, Churdude on the Halfling Direlord, and Galarain Moonsong on the Elf Ranger. So once again, thanks a bunch for our adventuring party for being so generous and supportive of us, and our party is consistently getting more raid-like. It's really exciting. Every time I see the graphic, I'm like, what? Who are you people?
Makes you want to go a raiding.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But yeah, if you want to join this raid, go ahead and check out our Patreon page linked in the description. Or if you're here for the, probably kind of sleepy premiere.
Coffee-fueled premiere.
Definitely coffee-fueled. But yeah, feel free to drop a super chat and we'll get your name on the next Rewind scrolling banner. And of course, if you missed the premiere, YouTube also has a super thanks down in the comments. And we'll do the same thing for that. So as usual, thanks again for keeping us pushing forward and doing the best we can.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So with that, let's get into our super packed show of totally tons of important content and stuff.
Mm-hmm. This week in Visionary Realms News and Notes. Oh, wait. What? Oh, wait, right. That's what I'm hearing. The sound of silence.
I thought I lost you there for a second.
I thought I lost myself for a second there. Actually, I was on the mute button a little too heavy fingered. But anyway, it is a no news week here at the Rewind. That's why we're being a little squirrely here and having some fun. We would think that these weeks are actually more common than they are, because how do you have news every single week? But we actually managed to usually find something to talk about. But this week it's very, very quiet on the VR front. Of course, we are certainly in the midst of the calm before the storm.
Yeah.
As you may or may not know, and we've alluded to already several times, we are on the cusp of a pre-alpha test. Now, we record on Friday nights, as some of you know and some of you don't. That means that pre-alpha testing hasn't occurred for us yet. But by the time you're hearing this, it will have occurred, and maybe some news has come out of that by that time on Sunday. So who knows? But for now, we are in steady anticipation mode. So I don't want to ramble on pointlessly, so we'll just embrace the still of the night.
I like
That's
that.
the news.
Yeah, I like that.
I do too. Let's enjoy it while we have it. It's not often we get nice silence. So that's it for this week's VR news. But we will talk about what's going on Pantheon Plus. But wait, there's more. I'm very off today. I don't know why. My cadence, my sequencing is all off. But anyway, let's look at the calendar for Pantheon Plus for the week of December 5th through to the 11th. Now, on Monday night, of course, as always, Drac and his crew are doing Vanguard still on our Twitch channel, the Pantheon Plus Twitch channel. Now, the MMO 101 and 201 show, we are still doing Embers Adrift, and I want to happily announce that for the 201, Sparoh is going to be joining us as a regular member of our party in Embers Adrift, at least until we move on to the next game, which we haven't announced yet, but we are definitely working on, what's coming after that, because we aren't going to do Embers forever. We are going to move on eventually. But so that's Tuesday nights at 9 o'clock Eastern on our Twitch channel with the 101 crew, and Thursday nights at 7 o'clock Eastern on our YouTube channel right here with me and Desrin and our crew. So there's that. Then on Wednesday, our favorite fan fiction writer, Benonai, has another article in his series called Panning for Gold coming out. You'll find that on our Pantheon Plus website. That's pantheon.plus. And then on Thursday as well, after Sparoh is done with us, she may also be doing some WoW streaming. Now, I'm not sure about this because one may be superseding the other. We don't know yet, but that is on the calendar for now. So check out Sparoh's channel, her Twitch channel, if you want to know more. You can also find her here in the Pantheon Plus Discord if you want to at her there and find out what's going on with her schedule. On Friday, Redbeard Flynn is playing some Baldur's Gate 3, a game that I am super excited for, but have been very disciplined about staying away from up to this point because it's
wait for it to release. Yeah.
Yes, I am definitely waiting on the final version of that game because it is far too important of a game in my pantheon of great games in my life. Nice. That it has to be good. So, and then on Friday as well, Man of Rohan has a song. The Amanthiel, I can't remember the full name of it, but it is referencing Queen Amanthiel, the Queen of Thronefast. And I know this has been in the works for quite a while, and Man of Rohan has been working on it quite hard. And if you've paid attention to his previous efforts, you know the quality that you can expect from this.
Yeah, it's going to be
subscribed to his channel.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be super awesome. And it's called For Amanthiel the Dauntless. I got to look it up for you.
Thank you. Yes. So I'm very much looking forward to that and hearing that on his channel. So that's the calendar. I also want to mention in terms of us at the Rewind here, we will be taking a Christmas break. So there will be no Rewind coming up on December 25th or January 1st. So we're taking 2 weeks off. Again, so that's 2 more shows. After this one, 2 more shows still until that happens.
Just giving you a heads up.
Giving you a big heads up so that you can make some plans and not be disappointed when the 2 weeks come around. I do want to note that our show right before we take those 2 weeks off on December 18th, we are going to do something special for the holidays. As we do giveaways, and then we are definitely going to be doing some under the tree giveaways for the holiday season that we have done traditionally at this time of the year, and maybe have some other things lined up to make it a special holiday themed show, but we will see. Desert, you never know. Yeah, this is probably news to Desert too, because he's like, "What is this? What are you talking about?"
This is the first I've seen of it, and I'm like, I guess we are. Yeah, we're totally.
We haven't really talked about this yet. I just threw it in there, but I figure you'd be okay.
Oh yeah, I'm always down for giveaways and extra special stuff.
Right on. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, that is really now this week's VR news and notes. When the Pantheon community speaks, we listen. So let's dig into the forums and fan projects to see what the discussion's all about.
All right, I'm not going to sugarcoat this for you guys. The forums, the official forums, are they're kind of dead lately. Just not a lot of stuff going on there. And we really needed something for this week's community discussion. But I couldn't find anything that, we haven't already talked about or, all that. But so we're going to kind of start our own community discussion. And I think we're going to tackle something that we might not have ever talked about before. But, as you all know, just to kind of get this started, depending on how well the test that, we're coming out of goes, there's going to be a following test that'll be live streamed by CoCarnage, and only by CoCarnage. So that's kind of getting to that first point of this discussion, exclusivity with content creation. Obviously, we're kind of tackling this as content creators, but obviously we're not as big as Co either. So, I'd like to think we represent the smaller people here. But I would say I've seen quite a bit of scoffing, I'd say, kind of surrounding the privileges, because it's what it is, privileges that Co is getting. By being kind of the sole streamer of this up and coming test. So that kind of brings me to my prompt, which is, do you think it's fair that some content creators have and will get privileges to share the game when others don't? And if it's based on stuff like viewer counts, is that more fair or less fair? So let's get this started.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. Because we are definitely seeing that now. So, the first thing that comes to my mind is thinking about Co. So thinking about his position as, for a long time, supporter of Pantheon, had a close relationship with VR, has been somebody who has always said, I am not being paid by VR to do this. I'm doing it because I want a game like this. I like a game like this. And that has been, who he is and what he has demonstrated to the community throughout his attachment, if you will, to this game.
Yeah.
Now things are a little different because he's an investor, I think.
Yeah.
So we are definitely talking about a somewhat unique situation with Co, because he is a major investor, not just $1,000 or a couple of $1,000s. We're talking about $1 million, plus investment of some sort.
And to be clear, just because we don't know that for sure, because he invested in a round that added up to, the two.
That's true.
So it could be a few $100,000 or something, but still, it's huge. I just want to be super clear about that. Not throwing millions of dollars at the game.
Yeah, I couldn't remember as I was saying it what if that was confirmed or not. But you're right. But in any event, his position is no longer as technically, just a fan of the game, now an official investor. So there is that aspect of it. But the question you've posed is it fair that if we take that out of the equation, if we're just talking about content creators being granted access to a game based on a viewership
view counts or and
reach,
reach
that kind
is
of
good,
thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think that we really are getting to the heart of what does it mean to be a content creator, right?
Yeah.
What does that mean exactly? And I've got some thoughts on this. I was thinking about this today after I read our notes and was thinking about this discussion. But what do you think? What does it mean to be a content creator?
Well, this is the kind of philosophical thing that I really kind of started to come to grips to when thinking about the subject. And seeing, a lot of people that are, I would say, like kind of upset, that they're not included in being able to stream the PA or potentially, more tests afterward. We don't know that for sure yet. But it's just been a long time since anyone but Co, was allowed to stream the game. Because even the Pantheon Plus, that was not streamed, right? That was filtered, right?
Pre-recorded, yeah.
And I think people really want to, have a chance to share Pantheon. But I'm kind of thinking of the overall question of like, are you doing content creation to promote your subject or the game? Or I mean, or yourself? So like, obviously, I think a lot of people would say both, right? You know, you want to do this, you know, it's kind of a mutual relationship where you're promoting a thing, but it's also getting you viewership because people are interested in the thing. They're kind of this like proxy, you know?
Yeah, that's right.
And so it's kind of made me think a lot about content creation in the sense of like, how do you maximize the mutual benefit of that? And I don't want to sound like judgy or anything, but I feel like a lot of people, not even just in Pantheon, but that, you know, want kind of rights to stream under development games, want it so that they can like be the first, you know, or like a part of the first, because that gives you a lot of like reputation. And I mean, for example, not to pick on Baz or anything, but like one claim to fame that Baz has is that he's the first person to like play Pantheon, right? That's not on the development team or, you know, potentially friends or family. And that obviously started quite the journey for him. And so I think a lot of people see it as a really good opportunity. And when another already established creator, like just kind of by default gets that, it probably feels bad. But to me, I'm like, I want it to be a mutual thing. You know, if I wanted to stream Pantheon, you know, part of Pantheon Plus, which I don't right now, to be clear, I would want to make sure that it's kind of, I'm promoting the game. Not that I wouldn't say bad things, like if I came across it, right? But with as much context as possible. And with the, don't worry, I'm getting to a point here. With the competition of content creation, because as Pantheon gets larger, more and more people are going to be, you know, kind of getting into it and trying to one up each other and, you know, try to get as much audience as possible. Like that's just the reality of it. And Pantheon's not huge at the moment, but there's a lot of potential for audience, and that audience has attention that content creators want. And I just want to make sure that if I'm streaming the game, it's so that the game gets bigger, and we get to share it with our community. So,
yeah. So there's a lot of points you touched on there that I think are worthy of diving into a little bit deeper. The first one being the goal of content creation. You know, so you framed it as promotional, but also for the game, but also for the creator involved.
Yeah.
And I want to sort of take our listeners back to before content creator was a term that was thrown around. I want to go back to a time before maybe even like the internet was as it is and we know it today. Why did people make things about things they liked? You know, why did people write fan fiction? Why did people do artwork based on a franchise they loved or a character that they really connected with or felt spoke to them? They did it because they loved the thing. It made you have a connection to that property, to that medium in some way. That's the roots of content creation. Now, what's happened is over time is the barriers to doing that have gotten less, and the medium has grown. So now it's what we do. It's podcasting. It's videos. It's everything. It's fan fiction still, just on a digital, on a digital landscape. But there's two different aspects to it still. I think there's still two distinct aspects to it. I think there's the people who make content purely because they love it, and there's people who do it commercially. And there is some bleed over in that, absolutely. And I think what we're seeing is, I think we're unfortunately seeing a bit of a divergence between those two spheres. So the commercial is becoming more distinct, and the non-commercial is becoming more distinct as well. And what I'm seeing is closer to not really being about promoting the product anymore, nor promoting the thing, and become, like you said, more about one-upping and getting the, becoming the first to do something, becoming the first look,
the exclusive person.
The exclusive access and exclusivity has become much more important than the love of the thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, and I think that as viewers, I think that as consumers of content creators, we need to become more discerning about what the motivation is to why people are doing what they do. Is it because they love the thing, or is it because they love making things? You know what I mean? So, and the reality is, when you're talking about working with companies, private companies, creating a product for a marketplace, it is a business relationship. Because if you are doing things for exclusivity and doing things to get access, you are working as an ad hoc agency, an agency of the, an advertising agency, a promotion agency, whatever you're doing. There is a relationship there, and you have to acknowledge that. And no company is going to want an agency that's going to do something, like, as much as you say, I would say whatever I want, I would still talk negatively. If you're getting something, you're getting something. It's hard. It's impossible not to. So I think when we say content creator, we need to be very clear about what we're talking about. And I think that we can't really deny that there is this distinction of what the relationship really is, and and who's doing what, from what place they're coming from. Does that make sense? I mean, I said a lot.
Well,
there.
Especially when you tie it to Co, because obviously Co has a predisposition, even before being an investor. And again, they didn't pay him for the past streams or anything. He just wanted to do it.
And that's why I prefaced it with that, because I think that speaks volumes to what we're going to see. Now, I mean, he is now in a different position, but at the time, that's what I was talking about. Somebody who was doing it for a love of the thing, right?
Right.
At least in my assessment. Yeah. At least in my assessment. Other people may disagree with that, but in my assessment, there's a genuineness and a value that he brings to the table.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I like that you pointed to the heart of the matter, right? And that's, I would say that's not going to be the easiest thing to really discern, just because everyone kind of expresses themselves differently. And I've found that there are some content creators that have huge audiences that are very honest and, very, like their heart's actually in what they're doing, regardless of, the specific subject, but they're not, just trying to, chase the views or whatever. And I don't really expect Pantheon to ever be to the point where it's like, oh yeah, if you talk about Pantheon, that's what'll get you the views,
Right. Right.
But at the same time, I think there is a lot of value in that, he specifically has shown, I'm not in this for money, and in fact, he has lost money. Let me put it that way. He has lost money covering this project. His viewer counts when he's talking about Pantheon, they're not the highest that he gets. His whole audience isn't interested. Some of them are, a good amount are, and probably a lot more than most people. And to answer kind of my own question on that front, I think it's totally fair, because that relationship that you mentioned, it is advertising, that, hey, for now, and actually, if you are okay with me getting into my next point here, unless you had some, because for now, I think it's pretty safe to say that in-game Pantheon content is clamped down for a reason.
Yeah.
because I mean, we've seen so much change over the last just year, right?
Mhm.
And much as I wish that people could understand that and contextualize that, having a ton of footage from, a bunch of people of stuff that is, certainly not final is a
Mhm.
nightmare.
Right.
Regardless of, I don't even want to bring it up, but, there's a lot of folks that think like any company is just trying to like pull this kind of shady stuff, right? And,
Mhm.
they're trying to hide the game so that, you can't tell that it sucks, like stuff like that.
Right.
But the
Right.
truth is it's not done. And they of course want to put like paint it in the best light as possible, along that line of honesty. Um, but that's a pretty like fine line, I would say. It's a line that I don't think every content creator really understands.
Mhm.
And so all I'm saying is, I think as the game kind of gets more close to what it's going to look like going forward, it makes sense that more people can be brought in. But for now, having
Yeah.
that single source of PA footage with,
Mm.
Co, or, even if it wasn't Co, just a single source, I think
Mhm.
is a really big win for VR
Mhm.
until we get to the point they can open up.
Yeah, and that brings me to the question that I have in my head right now for you is they've talked about when alpha comes. NDA is, potentially being loosened and there will be more access potentially. How far do you think they should go with that? What does that look like in your mind? Because to me, I think what you're saying is absolutely right, and I worry that we, you know, the exclusivity can serve them, but they can loosen it and you can get a little bit more, but you don't want to go too far with that. You don't want a free for all, you know. But I don't know, maybe you have different thoughts about that.
I actually, I am for them opening it up, for specific creators, and this is something a lot of companies do. They have a partner program, or I
Mhm.
mean, not that sounds a lot like Twitch partner, not like that, but more just like, hey, this is a relationship. We have given this spread of 50 content creators. Like, yes, here's what you can show. Um, but I think this serves really well in alpha because I don't think we're going to have fully open servers at the launch of alpha, or maybe even for a
Mhm.
while, through alpha. And so I think the best option when alpha comes is to start some kind of creator kit,
Yep.
which they don't really have right now, but a creator kit that you can reach out, contact them, go through the spiel, like here's when we're having like a session, and you can stream this
Mhm.
session, and maybe a list of a few things that, hey, just so you're aware, this zone is kind of like, we're not ready to show that, so please don't go there. Um,
Mhm.
like that kind of stuff that they can still kind of keep a handle on, because 50 is a lot less than potentially thousands, right?
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and if they have that already set up, and then at least those people are all on the same kind of level, right?
Mhm.
And then as the game opens up more, you expand it more. Like that kind of like really slow, steady opening where they still have a little bit of control. That's actually what I think is the most fair, that you could
Yeah.
apply for a creator program.
Yeah. I like the idea of the creator kit and like you say, other games have done that. I always try to bring it back to because we tend to get into this discussion and it leans towards live streaming. It leans towards the Twitch side of things. And I like to keep it grounded in content creation from a curated aspect where I'm talking about things like, you know, um, more curated videos, not necessarily streamed gameplay, if you know what I'm talking about. Um, and I want that to be a part of the equation where, let's say VR puts out challenges to the content creator community saying, this week's video challenge or this week's, audio challenge is to create this, and then throw that out there. And here's our toolkit that we're gonna give you. Here's some footage. Here's some, assets that you can use. And I think that's something that I'd like to see. There isn't really an example of that I can think of, but I do feel like sometimes things on the content creator side are leaning a little too heavily towards the Twitch streaming, the live streaming gameplay situation. And I know people want to see that. I'm not saying against that. I'm saying let's take it to the next level, and let's put out content creation challenges and projects and things for people to do, because personally myself, I enjoy doing that more than the live streaming aspect of things. I think then, they have had a streamer program there is a spreadsheet or a application that they did have at one time that they've put out there publicly for people to apply for when the time comes. So I believe that's still a thing. But yeah, like an asset kit has never really been a thing, never really been something that's available to people. But again, I think if you are truly doing it from a place of this inspires me, I feel connected to this, you get creative with it. And I sometimes I feel like the creativity is lost when we don't have access to those things, but it also can inspire that creativity because you have to sort of be more resourceful with what you're using.
Limitation. Limitation is oh my gosh,
mother of invention.
There we go.
There you go. Right. So I like to see people rising to the challenge, the content creator challenge, when it isn't made easy for you, because I think that speaks to what you're trying to accomplish and where you're coming from.
It's actually an excellent point. And I got to shout out our community here a little bit, because I follow other games pretty closely. Other games that have a really strong creator presence. And a lot of times, if there's not a news thing, like some recent event that's coming out, there's no content. Like it has to be incited by the company or whatever. And I got to shout out our community for coming up with other stuff. I think that's amazing.
It's exactly what I'm talking about. I've seen it criticized too, actually, and I've seen people say, "How can you make all this content when there is no game yet?" And it always strikes me a little bit that seems backwards. It's backwards criticism. It's like, well, I'm making the content because I want there to be a game. And that's another point that I wanted to raise too, Desmond, is, we speak of content creators, but who has an interest in a game like Pantheon? And Pantheon is unique because it's crowdfunded. There's a unique nature to this game when it comes to content creation, because technically everybody who's pledged, given VR any money whatsoever, it is in their best interest to have this game come out, because they have given some money to the game and they want it. So that does, I think, color the nature of the content that is created around this game, because as content creators, I speak for myself. I don't want to speak for anybody else. I want to make content that helps Pantheon come to life. I want to do things that help it get there. Once it's there and in the public realm and it's no longer crowdfunded, now it's just supported by whatever their monetization is, I think things will change. And I'm not saying like I'm going to start being all negative. I'm saying like, you have to understand that there's different factors then in play, because it's no longer like this thing could fail and go off the rails at any minute, or this thing could never see the light of day, which that is where we are right now. You have to admit that. Like, you have to acknowledge that is a very real possibility. So if you are making content for this game, you should want to get it to launch so that you can continue to make content for it. Maybe that's a circular
and I think
reasoning.
That's kind of what we were touching on, in an attempt to be more careful about wording, I guess, earlier. But it's having to do with the heart behind like why you're making the content, and if you're doing it to make the game successful, to make yourself successful. Like I do totally believe that there's a nice middle ground of like crossover there where just kind of everyone benefits. But if you lean towards the side of like, well, I'm just going to try to, grab anything that is going to, boost me. This isn't really the project to do that. I would say, because of the nature of its volatility.
It's especially vulnerable to that. Yeah, I would say. I mean, I could make content about Elden Ring and be absolutely critical of it. Say it's the worst game in the world. They're not going to go out of business because I'm making content like that, right? It doesn't really. I mean, depending on the size of my platform, maybe, but they're not really worried about that to a great extent. Visionary Realms and Pantheon they're vulnerable to that. They are, like you have to understand that the crowdfunding, and they'll tell you every time they stream, is they are a crowdfunded game. They need the crowdfunding to continue. So let's be real about it. Like, let's be real about what we're dealing with here, because it's a different ball game.
Yeah.
So I think that I think that distinction is kind of lost sometimes when you're talking about the bigger platform of content creation.
Yeah.
Because it's different things for different games and different projects and different types of media that you're making content about, So
to bring it all the way around, like the original kind of like question, I guess, of whether it's fair for some content creators to have privileges when some don't, and content creator as loose as possible, right? So what we're kind of saying is that it is fair to have exclusivity because of kind of the volatility of the project.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, I think it is. I think that is fair. I think I'm struggling with the word fair because
I mean, get that.
it doesn't really have to be fair. This isn't like some sort of like, this isn't like government regulation.
How about that?
Yeah. Even appropriate. I mean, what's appropriate is what gets Pantheon made.
I love
that's what's
that.
Appropriate.
Honestly, like that's kind of the pin in it.
Let's I mean, that's where I land anyways. This isn't like some sort of democracy or like a regulatory medium where everybody has a right to stream the game or have access to the game. This is a thing where they're trying to do the best thing they can for their game while also being connected to their community and doing right by their community.
Yeah.
So is it fair? I don't know. Is it appropriate? I think so for them.
Yeah.
Is it appropriate for us as general public, as people who are interested in this? And I mean, again, us as content creators or us as, anybody who wants access to the game, that's a different thing, I think. But speaking just generally on every content creator out there, of course, I think it's fair, because I think if you've shown a genuine passion for the game, that should be the only criteria.
Yeah. And it really comes full circle when we have to consider, if as this, singular focus right now presents the game in a way that gets more interest using his platform, it serves all the content creators and their communities as well, because people are going to see the game as it's supposed to be, and then they can get more excited about Pantheon and find all the other content creators and stuff, and because I know we're kind of going on with this, I think at the end of the day, this isn't forever, right? Soon as the NDA is gone, everyone's, every MMO content creator, they're going to touch on Pantheon, and it's going to be wild, right? But the important thing is the game's going to be in a place where it's ready for that to happen. And that's kind of why I hold the position that I do for now. Right.
I agree. And I think that the floodgates will open and we'll be having a much different conversation at that time. And that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Well, to finalize all this, I did kind of want to point people somewhere, because I know we have a lot of content creators or aspiring content creators in our community. And so now that we've talked about all this, if you do want to contact VR about content creation, and any related side of that, you can actually just directly contact Ben Dean. His email is ben@visionaryrealms.com, which I gotta say, this is so funny because how many Bens are at Visionary Realms?
There's a lot of Bens. It's Ben heavy.
It's Ben heavy. It's Chris heavy even as well. So whoever holds the Chris at Visionary Realms, the OG Chris. Anyway, sorry, that was totally off topic, but that's kind of the place to reach out for now. This is kind of, I guess, a bit of news. Visionary Realms did just hire a new community manager, and their name is Savanya, who they're currently on the Discord right now, kind of getting set up, getting acquainted with people and all this. They are from the community, and that's great, right? But there's going to be that usual delay between them hiring and like the official announcement when they're like on the team page and everything, and everything's all like super legit. So I say all this just to let aspiring people know that things may change, but for now, definitely reach out to Ben if you need to. I can attest to Ben being pretty awesome to work with. Pantheon Plus has kind of been working with him for years now, right? So
yeah, I have every time I've reached out to Ben, I've had perfectly excellent communication with him, and such a nice guy, and very, very helpful and very kind and just warm to deal with. I remember when they were doing a developer roundtable. It was him and JN, and they were joking about my lore videos and saying how soothing my voice was, and he was so complimentary. So I always kept that in mind.
Lastly, I can't finish this segment without saying, if you are a content creator in the Pantheon space, reach out to us. Reach out to us here at Pantheon Plus.
Yeah.
While we're not affiliated with Visionary Realms, to be clear, our platform is all about Pantheon content creators and building the community up by collaborating and cross promotion. Don't be shy. We're here. So if you listen, especially because you're already in the community if you're a listener. So
yeah, that's how this Pantheon Plus snowball has become what it is by offering people a chance to share their passion for creation of content about Pantheon. And that's why I say what I say when it's about passion. It's about belief in the thing. It's not about being advertising or promotional. It's like, just if you love doing something about, and want to share that, we have a platform for that. So we're happy to do it.
And the more unique, the better.
Seriously, like if you've seen any of this stuff that we do, we don't discriminate. Everything's available. Like if you want to make a puppet show, although that's
been done.
Bag. Yeah, that's been done. I mean, there really is the list of things that haven't been done is getting shorter every day. So
I love it.
Creativity.
But that's that topic. Hopefully you guys have your opinions and you can say them in chat or comments and stuff. I'm really curious how the non-content creators, other content creators that haven't shown up in the Pantheon space, get your thoughts in on this, and we'll read them and see what everyone's thinking. But I think that's going to be it for this week's community discussion. The Pantheon community is full of cool projects, new people, and things that are just worth sharing. What's this over here? Look at that. So let's see what we can find in this week's Community Spotlight. All right, it's also a pretty light week for community content as well, but nevertheless, I'm happy to share with y'all what I've dug up. Now, first off, I am super happy to see a new person in the Introduce Yourself forum.
Oh my gosh, it's been a while.
Yeah, it really has. Not to say there hasn't been new people. It's just, I think it's just not a normal thing anymore to post, but I'm really glad when people do. And this one is called Hi Everyone by Hawk72. Pretty simple. Mm-hmm. They played WoW for years and thought they'd give Pantheon a shot, so they just pledged. So be sure to go to the forums. I got a nice convenient link for you down below. It's not that hard. You just give them a huge welcome into the community. I'd appreciate that.
Absolutely. Yeah, welcome Hawk72. Good to see somebody who still uses the forums, even though they're kind of like a bit of a dinosaur these days. I still love a good forum post. So welcome to the community, bud.
Yep. And we've got another one from Sparoh. This one is called December Could Be a Fantastic Month for Pantheon. And this is kind of Sparoh's monthly schedule overview videos. And I really like this one specifically because there's like a little bit of extra contextual info alongside the, kind of slim monthly schedule, which I think adds a lot to it. And that's a great resource to kind of just see what's going on. Because I know it's been very obvious lately that not everyone reads the newsletter. So
there was a comic somebody posted. It was a little while ago, but it really made me laugh. It was like, riffing on the roadmap to alpha, and it's like all these detailed points, and the one person just kept asking when's alpha, and they would respond with like, oh, look at the roadmap, it says here. The next frame, when's alpha? It's like, look at the roadmap. It's like 3, 4, 5 frames of this thing, and it's like the question remains.
Yep. It's the hard parts of communication. But if you do want those quick updates, go ahead and subscribe to Sparoh. She does those every month, it seems. So check that out.
Definitely.
Now, this next one, this one is always super fun. So this is by Benonai, and this is Conspiracy Theory Op-Ed 8, The Lion's Prophecy.
I feel like these articles from him should be like on a tattered note that you find me like hammered by a nail into a back alley wall somewhere.
Dude.
Like I feel like he's the underground posting notices in shady places of what's going on in the aristocracy.
Totally. Like, so did you play Cyberpunk?
Not yet.
Oh
no.
My gosh.
Not yet.
Can I spoil something that you probably have already seen before?
Sure. Yeah.
You know how Ko's in it?
Yeah, I do.
So his character is basically the Benonai of Cyberpunk.
Oh, that's cool.
And
I didn't know that.
Yes.
Ooh.
It's super fun. And I just like this stuff. It's, I don't even want to really spoil it for you guys because you should totally read it, but it's like Illuminati level conspiracy theory, about, in-game stuff or, lore related stuff. And this one is like, so it's like taking the shape of King's Reach and overlaying this lion sigil of Thronefast and like drawing conclusions about the various parts of it. And yeah, it cracks me up, man.
It's amazing. I think Benonai's etching. He's aiming to try and get that role in Pantheon. Maybe they're going to create a character with him in mind.
That's what I hope. Like, I really hope
sweet.
You can like find in the basement of some, place in Avelia, right? Where it's just a bunch of notes on the wall with like stuff from Benonai's scrawlings.
I mean, we talk about content creator access. This is taking it to the next level. This is like getting yourself put into the game. What more access is there than that?
This was deserving. There's no content like Benonai's content. I can say that confidently.
It's truly.
And then lastly, we've got another video, and this is by our friend Mr. Coddleshire or Mr. C, and this is called What's Wrong with MMOs Now? And we mentioned this on the 201, right? But But yeah, Mr. C put this video out. It kind of encapsulates a lot of trends of the current MMO landscape. Then, in my opinion, it super cleverly sets up his position by putting forth a bunch of his own standards of what might reverse the trend or what might make MMOs better. And what I think makes the video really effective is that he doesn't actually even mention Pantheon until like 7 minutes in.
Very near the end. Yeah.
Because it just so happens that Pantheon's the only game that seems to even be trying to meet the standards that he's setting throughout the video. And I just thought that was very well structured, well done, and effective. So
yeah, it's a really good video. I enjoyed it quite a bit. And like you said, he showed up on the 201 in chat, and we were very effusive with our praise. And he's making some really, really strong content. Really well produced. Cites all his sources, like very well researched and stuff. So quite enjoyable and very laid back. Very fun and laid back. So that's my kind of content.
Yeah, for sure. I'm really happy to add another, not new, because he's been doing stuff for a while, but not one that I get to throw on here very often. And the more the merrier. So I think that's going to be it, though, for this week's Community Spotlight.
Sit back and relax. It's time for the Lore You Know. All right, so Lore You Know time, and we have our Lore Keepers of the Week. You'll see some familiar names on there, some repeating names as returning Lore Keepers, which is excellent. So the question last week was, what was the type of creature that lives in Hangor? And of course, that is orcs. And the follow-up question was, what is the name of the clan of that creature? And that is the North Tusk Orcs. So that information was all available, from a little research, a little deep diving into, looking at those concept art pieces for one, which I mentioned on the show, but also just a little bit of reading, a little bit of video watching, and you would have found that. So congrats to the Lore Keepers of the Week. Let's look at our questions for this week. Now, again, very recent stream from VR. We saw a watery natural phenomenon. And this was not that long ago. What was the name of that natural phenomenon? And then the follow-up question is, which race would be most likely to take a swim in said natural phenomenon?
I wonder if this is a trick question that some people might fall for.
Well, we'll have to wait and find out, because you never know. We gotta keep people on their toes around here with these Lore Keepers. We don't want them getting too comfortable. But as always, go to the official website to look for that information at pantheonmmo.com. Check out the playlist here on our YouTube channel. The Lore Library is very helpful for that. And you can answer the questions by leaving a comment on the video or joining the Discord, leaving a comment in the Lore You Know channel, or you can DM me directly with your answers. So good luck to everybody. And that's this week's Lore You Know. And that is also this week's episode. So yeah, clocking in a little bit shorter than our usual,
a little bit
over an hour episode, but that's just fine. I think we were due for a shorter one. I hope everybody's stuck with us and is not passed out if you are a pre-alpha tester and are falling asleep on the couch or falling asleep wherever you are listening to the show.
Yeah, I was about to say, we're probably, at the end of our rope by the end of this episode too, as we kind of just talk about content creation. If you have stuck with us, thank you so much. There will be more substantial videos or podcasts in the future.
Yes, next week should be a very interesting show based on the occurrence of this weekend, and then the weekend after that. Should the co-stream go ahead on the 10th, we will have a very interesting show and lots to talk about.
That'll be a marathon show. I could imagine.
We'll make up for any shortcomings at that time. So anyway, as Desiree said, thank you everybody for hanging out with us today. Be sure to like and subscribe here if you haven't already. Share the show on your platform of choice, and we will see you next week.
Keep calm and Pantheon on.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Pantheon Plus Rewind. Pantheon Plus is not affiliated with Visionary Realms. Be sure to check out our Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube channels under the name Pantheon Plus. You can follow Theric at Pantheon Theric on Twitter, and Desrin at DesrinDoes also on Twitter. And you can stay up to date with all things Pantheon at www.pantheon.plus. Until next time, cheers, and thanks for listening.